Alright, welcome to Developer Diary. I believe it's 6, I'm not sure, of interesting NPCs. We're going to start with some new dialogue for super followers.
Something on your mind?
Um, Recently I found out where a lot of the spells are kept, or the spell dialogue when you heal somebody, and along
I'll
with a
tell
lot
you
of
later.
item conditions. So what I'm going to do is, this is my new level 1 character. I just named him with my last name. Okay, and we're going to give her this item here. I'm not gonna wear it. And then I attached the commentary, the unique commentary, to a goodbye. So when we exit this dialogue, she should make a comment about her new helmet.
How do I look? Somehow I don't think this helmet suits me, but at least it covers my face.
Okay, now what we're gonna show, or what I'm gonna show, is some taunts. Uh, there's gonna be some vanilla dialogue mixed in because I haven't had Viri record attack dialogue, or a lot of the dialogue that happens during combat, but hopefully she'll at least do some of her taunts, which I have had her record.
Die, damn you!
Yeah, see, that was a
No!
vanilla line there.
I'm stronger than I look.
And there you go. That was a unique taunt, and you notice it was her voice. God, I fucking suck.
You win! I submit!
There you go. That was a... Oh, shit. Yeah, but in any case, you saw both her vanilla, um, and there's arrows just flying around randomly. You saw both her a vanilla taunt, a unique taunt and a unique submission uh, dialogue. Um, there's gonna be about 3 or 4. She also died, but I don't think the unique death uh, dialogue triggered there. Okay, we had to switch characters here because I suck at video games, and also uh, that character wasn't a mage, so the last thing I wanted to show,
Do you mind keeping that closed?
I'm gonna
Well,
skip
man,
through this.
you have my steel.
The last thing I want to show is unique spell dialogue. So
Fire thing! My body exploding with my scars. Well, nobody's perfect.
alright, this is a character profile by request. So we're gonna do a series of these. If you want a character you like profiled, just make it known in the comment section. Uh, if this is the character Savashni, so if you haven't met a female Khajiit in Falkreath, you can skip this section. For everyone else, let's proceed. Okay, Savashni is voiced by Giramore, using a pitch change. As you can see, she has Akaviri's sword and armor, and this is deliberate because she is based heavily on Asian cinema and the sort of master-pupil relationship. And if you're unfamiliar with a lot of those type of movies, you usually have, or just martial arts in general, you usually have a lot of old masters who value sort of this spiritual growth as much as the practical application of combat. And Savashti's master is very much the same, in which obviously his particular religion is the Nine Divines, and her master values sort of this kind of melding of the principles of the Nine Divines with this dual sword combat technique that he developed. Now, the problem with that is Savashni doesn't give a shit about religion or any of that crap. She basically is someone who only cares about the practical application of this technique. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that she wasn't raised in the Blades culture. She was picked up uh, um, after the Thalmor had basically wiped out the Blades by just a stray Blade who escaped Cloud Ruler Temple and found her um, on the footsteps. So it sort of speaks to this kind of thing of where the best intentions can kind of go awry, or the fact that there isn't this culture around her to kind of teach her the principles, um, and the fact that he probably failed as a father figure in a sense to teach her the principles correctly. Or it could just be that she's just the type of person who would have become who she was regardless. In any case, let's
You have something to say.
talk to her
Well,
for a
save
bit.
your breath.
Let's skip the initial
Speak.
dialogue and go to
I
the
can hear
relevant.
it. But know this. You could be
And
timeless.
she sort of explains how she
Still,
is kind of a
because
Ronin samurai.
these days you'll find more dead play. No longer
And
is
that's
it held
evident in the way she
foolish
talks about the
mortals
Blades
who
with
spend far too many
general
days.
disdain.
True. The one I killed to gain this.
And now
He
let's
was a
move to
bit
the Way of the Nine
Way
itself.
Of the Nine. Stances and techniques derived from the teachings of the divines. That was his legacy, and his gift to me, his only pupil. But only when I was ready. What I wasn't ready for, and never would be, was religious nonsense with which he dressed the
And there you
art
see
to
she
kill.
explains her disdain for
Now,
religion
as I enter my
and
prime, I search for the lesson
the
that
sort of
escaped into the void when we last
why her
crossed our
personality put her at
lanes.
odds with her master. Now, the Nine Divines, or the techniques of the Nine, or the Way of the Nine, is based on the Nine Divines themselves.
Fool.
So the stance of RK is
very
based on
heart
life
of
and
the
death.
dual sword technique. Life and death, ice and fire. The nature of all things are born of two.
Kinnereth, for example, the sword is one sword is pointed to the sky, I
The stance
believe.
of Kinnereth,
Oh, both blades pointed to the
both
sky.
blades pointed upward to the sky.
And Kinnereth is
Just as we
the
know not from where
god
the
of rain and
falls, the
sky
blade's
and stuff
vertical
like that.
position masks its
And so
angle
on.
and its
but
target.
Savashni only learned 8 of the 9 techniques, and that's where the conflict arises. The ultimate technique is the stance of RK, which we sort of went over earlier, and the big story that she tells is based on how she killed her master.
It snowed that night when it should have rained. My mentor looked at the sky and said,
And the snow is
Kindereth
important.
was all out of tears.
And we'll cover that later.
And I said, Kindereth does not cry for fools. We drew our swords and dashed through the trees, our feet rapping against the snow. The night before, I had chosen my stance.
Let's
I
skip
could
through
kill
this.
my mentor and lose sight of the very thing I sought to learn. And in the spiritual sense, the father does not come before the son. It was the defense of Zenithar
He's basically
that
talking
shielded
her
me
her
from his
strategy
attack.
against
If I saw both
the
his
stance of
blades as
RK,
swords and
which
not
he's probably
shields,
going to
I could
reveal to her in
parry
this
and
battle.
kill. Our blades clashed, but made no sound, muffled by the snowstorm. His swords came at me from all directions, but I kept my eyes on his feet.
That's also
Or
important.
more precisely, the tracks he left in the snow. There was a pattern there, if only I had more time.
Now, the thing about this is, practically, she's watching his feet with regard, so she could learn the stance. But it's also sort of a metaphor in that she's trying to follow in his footsteps, and it's quite literal, I guess. Kind of hits you over the head, kind of thing. But she's trying to follow in her master's footsteps. She's watching his feet, but she's not really understanding it, and that sort of kind of goes with the general theme of their relationship, in that she's trying to follow him, but she's not really understanding the path that he's walking. And the snow that I mentioned earlier is the fact that the snow is kind of washing over his footsteps while they're fighting, because it's a heavy snowstorm. And we'll go a little bit more into that as
I
well.
went for the flurry and the kill. Yet when I saw his blade rise to the block, I hesitated, only to see that very blade run me through. It was then that he revealed the true essence of the technique. I assumed he moved to protect his life, when his stroke came for my death.
And there's life and death
But
again,
the blade
as with
missed
RK.
my heart by the width of a cat's hair. I made no such mistake with his neck. Just like that, it was over. I dropped to my knees and reached for my potion as his body drowned in a cascade of snow. I tossed the half-empty bottle beside his severed head and said he could have the rest. When he didn't respond, I couldn't help but laugh. All of it, the tracks, the blood, and his legacy, washed away in a tide of white.
And there we go with the snow again. The snow is basically, I mean, it's white, so it symbolizes sort of this purity thing, and it's also washing over his tracks, like I said earlier. So it basically shows how little time she has, and the sort of the impermanence of life, and that she needs to kind of learn this technique before he passes on, and she's just having trouble following in his footsteps again, just having trouble following what he's trying to teach her, and that goes back to the dissonance that they have in terms of he's trying to tell her that, you know, the spiritual growth is as important as the practical part, and all she cares about is how she wants to kill and learn how to kill better. You also notice that he barely missed killing her. It's heavily implied that he let her live on purpose. That's pretty much up to the player to interpret. But one thing that is clear is that Savashni wasted no time in killing him. And that basically kind of reflects her personality in that sense. I don't believe there's anything else we need to cover without going into too much detail, just for time's sake. If you have any more questions, you can also ask them. We only covered about a portion of the dialogue, but I do think it was the meatiest part of the dialogue. Alright, the last thing I want to go over is follower commentary when seeing an impressive sight or danger ahead. I'm not sure if I went over this already, but what happens is in certain locations the game will automatically trigger a commentary. It's usually something really vague, like "Wow, that's impressive," or "Never thought I'd see that," or "By the gods," or some other ambiguous thing or vague comment which applies to every location. So first, what I wanted to do was make it unique. But the one thing I do want to point out with this is if you're using a follower mod that has multiple followers, I believe the only one that triggers is the first. Well, hold on a second.
Let's color. Maybe they should fill a few warming urns with bamboo flowers, or a bucket of thunder cotton.
So in any case, that's Zora's unique commentary for the Dwemer Museum. It's triggered as soon as you reach, I think, this area here, this particular hole in the rug. It's not a random idol like much of her commentary is. It's triggered by location. And like I was saying earlier, is I believe it only applies to the first person in line. So if you had 3 followers, I think only the first person makes a comment. I don't know, someone with a follower mod installed might be able to confirm that. But I think it shows the importance of just having a super follower first in line. If you have 2 super followers, I believe only one will make a comment. But the other problem is if they both talk, then they'll both be talking over each other. But either way, it's not good. But so I recommend only having one at a time. But that's it for this week's diary. And we'll end... Oh, God, it's fucking matrixed me right there. We'll end and see if we can trigger some more combat dialogue from Zora.